Hey, this is Zach, one of your hosts. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. I just had a quick message about today's episode. You will notice that the audio is not the best. As with all things, nothing is perfect, and sometimes the recordings aren't exactly what you'd hope them to be. So, forgive us, but hopefully you get some great content. And as always, thanks for joining us.
Well, we didn't get dressed up for nothing.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Welcome to You Gotta See This, Man, a podcast where two friends try to introduce the other to movies that it is long overdue that they should have seen. I'm Troy Taylor, here from the Oregon coast, and with me is my good buddy, Zach. Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right here in the dang old South. It's snowing outside, but I feel warm in here.
All right. That'll be great when this airs in the summer, too. All right. So we've got a movie today that both of us have watched recently, and Zach, you were the one who brought this one to our attention. So do you want to intro it?
Yeah. So this has been a movie that I've watched several times over the years. It is not a very hyped film. It's not one that a lot of people have seen, but it does have an all-star cast, and was directed by Marc Forster, who has several big name films, and worked with a lot of big movie stars. So it's weird that so many people haven't seen it, but it's also because of the nature of the movie. It's not one that people, I think, would race out to see, or chase down to watch on DVD or something. But I've loved it, and it's always surprising, given especially who's in it, that many people haven't seen it. So,
Yeah, as I went through some comment threads, Zach, I saw a lot of hidden gem given to this movie. So
nice.
yeah, I had not heard of it until you brought it up, but there are definitely some fans out there of this movie.
Nice. That's good to know that some people have good taste. Uh, you don't have to tell me that it's a good movie. I know it is. So, the movie that we're discussing today is this movie called Stay. It's by Marc Forster, one of my favorite directors. He did movies like Kite Runner, Finding Neverland. He directed a James Bond movie, which that one wasn't as great, but he still has done a lot of really great films of totally different genres. And this one is right up that alley. You could definitely see some of the he's from Germany, so like you can see some of that influence in there. And it has an all-star cast, which is also one of the reasons why I'm like, you haven't seen this movie? It's got Ewan McGregor, Naomi Watts, Ryan Gosling, even a Janine Garofalo, appearance comes out of nowhere.
Mhm.
So it's one that I've always been curious of why more people haven't seen it, but that's why we're discussing it today.
That's the
So,
premise of the show. Yeah.
Troy, what do you think of the movie?
What do I think of the movie? Wow. Let's see. Let me sum it up. Let me go to my notes real quick. Um, from the get-go, I was like, this is a movie that was done in the 2000s because visually speaking, it looks, it looks very much like its time period. Like in this time where digital was beginning to really become the way that people were filming, and you could just do a lot of new things with camera effects that had never been done before, and you were starting to see that happen like all over the place. So I immediately, like, visually thought of movies like The Matrix and Run Lola Run, just where you had a lot of these new visual sort of styles. And I don't really have the vocab to talk more about what exactly that is, but it definitely looked like that time period.
Yeah.
And so immediately I understood like why this is a movie that you enjoyed, Zach, because one of the things that I associate with you as far as your movie tastes go is the visuals on them, and this is like a real like heavy like saccharin dumped like 2 pounds of sugar in your tea kind of visual stuff going on here. So I feel like uh, Instay, like that the visuals are doing like as much communication as the dialogue and even the plot is. Um, and so yeah, that's a I would say the thing that stands out most to me is just the visuals. Particularly the transitions when you're going from one scene to another. There's rarely just a standard sort of we're just going to edit and you're going to be here and then you're going to be in this other place. Things are always kind of like melting into something else or sort of transforming. And so it really, especially as you learn the conceit of the movie, it makes it make sense why that style was chosen. It's not just somebody's trying to do some cool things with the camera they just bought or whatever. Like it definitely goes along with what you find out this movie is actually about in the final moments.
If I could step into this real quick and say,
Yeah, yeah.
for anyone that hears this, this is basically a spoiler episode because we're going to be discussing twist endings in this movie. You have to know on the front end. Like, you don't want to listen to the rest of this if you want to know what's going on in the movie, if you want to try to figure it out yourself, because it is a psychological thriller. So, uh, that being said, stop listening now if you've never seen this movie and you
Yeah.
want to go watch it.
Pause, go and
Because
watch it and come back to our talk. Like because this will obviously be the first place you want to go for that.
right, right,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah, but
um,
that's why I've been relatively vague so far about things. Troy's talking a lot about the visuals here, but
right.
yeah. Do you have thoughts you want to interject, Zach, at this point?
Um, yeah, I mean, one of the things that you were saying is like the visuals are why I would like it, and it's absolutely true. So a concept that I learned about when I was in film school uh, was mise en scene, right? Which is like within the frame. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of suspension of disbelief about what's behind, the camera, and like on the out. You're supposed to believe that the room still goes this way beyond the camera, both sides, and
Mhm.
that there's a world around there. Um, this film is very much concerned about telling you things within the frame. It's not as concerned with the rest of the world. It's about like framing things, framing actors, blocking actors, um, using the light to carve out pieces of the story, the editing. It's all about what is happening on the frame, right? Because it's constantly communicating with you as you're watching. Um, because what they're saying on screen isn't always as important as what's happening on screen. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
I agree with that.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that sticks out with me and that has resonated with me in a lot of films is what are you trying to say with what you're showing me, not just what you're telling me. You know, it's
Mhm.
like reading body
Yeah.
language. It's like when you're communicating with people, you can tell a story just by looking at someone's body language. And with cinematography, like that's one of the things that why I'm so in love with movies is especially when it's done well, is like you can turn off the sound and it's still telling you a whole lot. Um,
Yeah, yeah. In fact, I thought that I really feel that way with this movie. I was actually like about to say that. I think you could turn the sound off on this movie and it still, do what it's trying to do for the most part.
right, right. Um, and you can see, the director is German. You can see a lot of heavy German influence with like the expressionism, with the use of
Mhm.
shadows, um, and hard angles, and like there's a whole lot again his choice of the way he's shooting this. is a style. It's not just like, hey, this is a great shot. This is very much every single part of it is to frame the story a certain way, and to frame each picture, each moving picture you see is indicative of the greater plot. It's not just, oh, this is a cool, bridge to shoot on, or this is a nice angle. It's literally, positioning the actors so that when you cut, their heads are on the same side of the frame. You're breaking some of the rules of filmmaking where you flip the 180 degrees and all of a sudden you're cutting to where you're putting one actor's head at the same spot as the other actor's head once you make that cut. And that's a little nugget. That's a little thing to show you through the cinematography that I'm telling you something right now, you know?
Mhm.
Um, and knowing that it's a psychologically driven, movie, those are the kind of things that you got to look for, and those are the kind of things that really, get my juices going when I'm watching movies. I mean, I like all kinds of movies, but this kind of movie where you have to constantly chew on it, you know,
Yeah,
it just really gets me going. It,
particularly chewing on the visuals of it.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
Yeah, and something I was going to bring up a little later in my notes is that the role of art and also the role of legend in this whole thing figure very prominently in the mystery that um, let's
Right,
see that they're trying to solve in this. They're constantly talking and trying to decipher artwork and trying to there are these legends that go along with the artwork, and they're trying to figure out like what that has to do with the the current story that's happening.
right, right,
Like Sam, it feels like if he can just break the code of the artwork and figure out exactly how Henry is trying to insert himself into all of this, that he'll be able to um, both like kind of fix him or at least stop him from hurting himself.
right, right. That playing into what happens later in the movie, the reveal, which I don't want to get into that just yet. Um,
Mm.
but it's kind of that life is art, art is life, kind of blending together of trying to figure things out by use of art expression, you know, artistic
Mhm.
expression. And we're searching for things and the words aren't going to suffice. We have to keep digging. And sometimes the only way we can dig into certain aspects of life is through art. And that's where it feels like that parallel, is there, very intentionally, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, it's just another thing that it's like you don't see a lot of these films that make that kind of like deep dive, um, especially given what happens at the end of the film. You know,
Mhm. One of the parts of it that I was disappointed by was as we've been talking about the was you've said a lot that like what people say in this is not as important as what you're seeing and
sure,
the way the imagery and is showing you and in the dialogue I found it like at multiple points to be like real hollow and it felt like it had not really been like worked out a whole lot. And I think you could make the argument that the once you know what the conceit of it is, they're like, oh well, that could be a way to explain that, but it sure took me out of it a lot. Just there were moments where the dialogue, I was like, what are you really saying that? Or like, man, why was that line necessary? Or that
right.
sort of thing.
Well, and I think when you're watching this film, it feels as it progresses very much like a fever dream.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
totally,
saying?
totally.
Like
Yeah.
how you were saying how things are melting together, and like you're not just cutting from one scene to another. Um, you got somebody walking through a door, and then all of a sudden it morphs a little bit, and it's just reality is not set. you know,
Yeah, right,
and
right.
it goes even more and more awry as the film goes on. And I think what we're building towards right now is like we have to discuss the end of the
Yeah.
movie. But before we get there, I think it's very essential that all of the first 2/3 of the movie um, are a part of it. It almost feels like a throwaway a little bit, but it's also like I
Yeah.
think he's inevitably saying more than just what the ending reveals. Is
Mhm.
what I'm getting at.
Yeah, well, I was gonna just begin to like lay out what what the plot. So, in this plot, Sam is a shrink, and Henry is a student who shows up and is very troubled, obviously. And Sam is with a partner who has attempted suicide before, but seems to have kind of stabilized and everything. And and Henry tells Sam that he's going to commit suicide in this way that like mirrors the way a really popular artist in the artists circles killed himself off of the Brooklyn Bridge, right?
Right.
Um, so Sam is trying to he then becomes almost like a detective trying to uh, follow Henry and at the same time unravel his past and figure out why what's going on with him. Why does he feel the way he does? What's his backstory? All in an attempt to help him. He's going way out of the realms of like what a normal shrink would do in this
Right.
case. He obviously feels like he has to do that in order to save Henry's life. But there's also a part of him that seems very self-interested in it as well, to the point where you begin to wonder if this is about him or about Henry.
Right.
And you also see, I mean, definitely like Sam, if he was psychoanalyzing himself, maybe would find that he's a bit codependent on a lot of people in his life.
Yeah. 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 And
Uh,
it's only through the scope of the reveal can you see why these relationships are what they are in the film. Why
mhm.
the why Henry's mannerisms are what they are. Why there's like it feels like there's no way out. It's
Mhm.
inevitable what he has to do, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's it feels like this like you're building and building and it's just you're barreling towards the end. Um and it's like you just see these flashes of the truth coming towards you, you know?
Well, if I can jump in, maybe this will
Yeah,
help
yeah,
you
yeah.
springboard. Also, the world gets like more and more disjointed
Yeah.
as you go deeper into the film too. Like you could mistake it for a pretty standard. This is our normal world kind of uh, in the very beginning. But by the middle, you're like, something weird's happening here. I don't know if this is supernatural or if this is all and he's having like some sort of episode in his mind. But by the time you get towards the end, it's a very different world, and it helps that it's dark and it's raining as opposed to daytime. But you feel like you're like falling into the artwork that Sam finally discovers
Right.
as he's doing more investigation into Henry.
I feel like at the same time that even before you get to the end, you're getting character development that seems like you're inside different thought processes that are very real for different kinds of people, and everyone's searching. They have no answers. Um, and even without the end, th- even when it starts to feel like the world is really shifting, it very much feels like a it very much feels like this whole thing is somebody sitting on a couch, whether it's
Mhm.
his girlfriend or Henry or Sam. It feels like each of them is searching for something, you know, um, until you get to the end of the movie, and then which
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like we could go ahead and start talking about that. Um,
right, right. Yeah, yeah,
uh, and because I feel like I have to tiptoe around it so much. Um, we've already said that it's a spoiler. So if anybody's listening, it's your own fault. Uh,
yeah. You did this to yourself.
because I feel like these are very real relationships in the movie, but
Yeah,
there's something askew, and you know it. You can feel it
yeah,
as the
yeah.
movie moves along, and when you find out the reveal, which in turn is so Henry is laying on the road, and he had just crashed his car, killing his girlfriend and his parents, right?
Mhm.
Uh, and he's laying there filled with regret, and all these people come rushing around to help him. You know,
Yeah. And all the people who rush around him then populate the story
right?
that we've been watching. And
That we've
so
been watching, and
the
it's
reveal is that this whole thing has been happening inside Henry's mind after he had a wreck.
exactly the opening is literally you're inside the tire
Hmm.
as it blows. Did you notice that?
In hindsight, yeah, you can realize that,
Right.
but obviously at the beginning,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like, "What the hell is
Yeah.
this?"
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So he's laying there dying, and of course, what everybody says about dying is like all your memories are is going to flash before your eyes and all that kind of stuff. Where this is a totally different look on it. This is like he's laying there and he's creating this world with the people around him, you know,
Right,
and
right.
it's like it's creating a world in an instant of him beating himself up as he's dying because he's killed his family,
I wondered in this. You can look at all the characters within his story that he's creating as so many different things. So it's all open for interpretation. But
Sure,
I
yeah,
was wondering, like, is Sam in the Sam that's in Henry's head, not the Sam that's out
right,
there helping him in trying to get to the bottom of this? Is he like a guide for outside Henry, for the Henry who just had the wreck, to make peace with his life? Like, is Sam like an avatar that Henry creates and then creates a whole world to like examine himself and try to rescue himself?
right. Yeah, and that's how wild it, like, when you start to go down that rabbit hole, it's like, it makes you go, okay, why was the entire movie necessary to get to this point if it's just something that he's creating in his mind? But then it's like it's some deep dives into our psychology, you know, and the regret, and like how much the stories that we tell about ourselves are driven by the people around us, right? If that
Mhm.
makes sense.
As well as the people who have been in our lives.
Right. And regret can be a major factor in how those stories in your head are determined, you know?
Right. And I think what's interesting about this movie is like the way that regret plays out in Henry's created world is different than the way that regret plays out in normal life. And so I envision these things as like the two things are happening at the same time and they're happening on different planes though. So
Sure. Yeah.
he's working through this, and the way that that plays out in this like alternate universe, the same thing is happening. Like he's making peace before he dies, but they're happening in very different ways. And the realities are very different too.
The one of the things that has always kind of struck me weird is, they're going to go have coffee, and I'm like, is he revealing a reality that is yet to come, with that these people, like, what I'm saying, like,
Yeah, it's just another level of inception or whatever,
that he's tapping into something, that this is who these people are.
or something he wants them to be, or something.
Right. That's something that I'm like, I'm curious, and it's not necessarily think what I think that he was trying to do with the story.
Mhm.
But I think it's there for a specific reason. I feel like it's there to make you sit there and question, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
because he created this whole thing in his head about those two being together, and then he could have just said, could have made them go in their opposite directions, and like everybody else, uh,
mhm.
they all start to walk away, and it's like, a life, leaves us, and people just go on with their lives.
Yeah, yeah,
But then also by chance, you know, you might find a person that you're with for the rest of your life, because you ended up watching some kid die on the street. Um,
right. And I mean, for that matter, once there's the reveal that this hour and 20 minutes that we've been watching is not reality, there's nothing that says that the accident is reality either. Like that again could be another level of some, I don't think the movie really tries to tell you that or anything, but at this point, it's like what do we have that we know we can like trust and believe in here?
yeah, that's true. I mean, the wheel spinning at the beginning, that you're inside when it blows, you know,
Yeah, I think that's what it wants us to think.
because I mean, yeah, you flip it and you go, okay, well, what if this is the imagined life that he wanted to have? I don't know. It's just, I mean, it's precisely why I like this kind of movie, is because it
Mhm.
it makes you continually question, you know,
Yeah.
um, and it makes you dive deep into why things are said, and why it's perspective, you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and how it's framed by your entire surroundings, you know,
Mhm.
um, whether you're in health, or laying there dying, you know, because obviously we're sitting here and we don't know what happens, when you die. Um,
Right.
but it's kind of a fresh take on, like, oh, everybody always sees their life flash before their eyes, but what if you
Yeah.
don't, and
He
you just
sees some life pass before his
right,
eyes.
right. Yeah, you just create a different life, or whatever. And I think that's the whole thing, is like, when you're digging into art, it's about your perception of that art. I think that's very much why this film is done the way it's done. It's not just to be like, hey, look at this clever twist that I put at the end of this film. It's it wants to put you in front of a Monet, and look deep into the eyes of the people, in the ones standing by the lake. You know what the Monet painting I'm talking about? And I think it's the one that's in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, you stand in front of that painting, and you could probably tell one story, and then I stand in front of that painting, and I'm telling a totally different story.
Mhm.
You see the little girl is standing there crying. I see the little girl is standing there happy. You see that, whatever it is. Um, and there's interpretation, and I feel like there's a place for films that just lay it all out there for you, and spell it out, and give you eye candy, you know. And then
Mhm.
there's a place for not getting the satisfaction of having it all answered for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
And
Gives you
that's
the
what this kind of
opportunity.
film just
Yeah.
it's my bag, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that from the beginning. This is definitely Zach's bag. Yeah. I wish, as I mentioned earlier, that the dialogue had felt a little felt like there had been more time dedicated to it. My take on it is that like Forster was so focused in on getting the visuals the way that he needed them to, which must have taken a lot of foresight, a lot of planning, and everything. That like he didn't spend as much time on the dialogue. And you mentioned character development earlier. I felt like a lot of the characters seemed very like cardboard, like kind of stock characters. Like Naomi Watts' character has she's had some self harm issues, and she and Sam are uh, trying to make it work and everything. But there wasn't a lot to her character outside of that. I felt like
Sure. I feel like the characters in the movie just serve a purpose
right,
that they're on the surface. It's like passing someone on the street and going, I wonder what they do, and then go, oh yeah, maybe they're a clerk at a store, and
right,
what else do you know past that? You know,
yeah, yeah,
how do they sound? What would they say? And so like I think that's why you never get too deep into what people are saying because it's like it's all surface level because it's just
yeah,
this instant flashing through this kid's head, you know, as he's
right,
dying. So
yeah.
in
And I
turn,
I
it
could see
may
that at the end of it,
right, right. But when you're
but it was
watching it,
frustrating until I got there.
no, I get it, I get it, and again, like it's the blessing and the curse of telling a really good twist, you know, story is just like you got to be careful what you say throughout the film so you don't reveal too much. How
It's
much do
hard
you
to pull
really
off.
want?
Yeah, yeah,
How much do you
yeah.
want your audience to invest in a bunch of people that don't exist? Point being is, it's a vehicle to get to the end of the story, and in this one, it literally is a vehicle that gets you to the end. You know, the vehicle in the very physical form of the vehicle crashing, also being the
Mhm.
vehicle of you know the end of the final moments being determined by that same vehicle. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but I think that's the point is it's not just about some kid dying, it's also about the psychology of all of us, about every one of us has regret. And every one of us, you know, we're surrounded by strangers.
And I can forgive Henry since he was dying, for not coming up with better dialogue in my head.
Right.
But I wish that he had.
Right. I mean, I'm not naive to think that this is the best written script. I'm not saying that
Yeah, yeah, totally.
there may have been a better, screenplay there, at least as far as like how some of the dialogue and stuff was written. But I do believe it was a choice. It may not be, Oscar worthy choice, but it's for the vehicle that this film is using, it works.
Yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I'm
Like
saying?
the characters don't have a yeah, I do agree that like it was Forster's intention to strip them of some of their personality,
Right. It doesn't it
to
doesn't
to
make
make it more confusing and to make it feel yeah, like I said, to make it more confusing because you're confused about what they're feeling, like that scene with his mother where she's like really confused, and then all of a sudden she's like bleeding
that was
and
very like
stabbing, and it just takes a turn towards horror for a minute.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's like and again, the recesses of your mind can be pretty horrific sometimes, you know?
Yeah, right, right.
And
I mean,
especially
especially like because he's just witnessed something really horrific. So,
right. And
so that it makes sense at that point.
yeah, yeah,
But
oh yeah,
but
before
leading
you
up
get to
to
that
it,
point,
you're
it's
just
kinda like,
like, what?
what is happening? Like, why
Yeah,
why are
yeah.
yeah. Why it feels like, like the Sam gets in his own way when he's talking to Henry. It's like he's, is he really a psychologist? Like he doesn't seem like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
you're making
it's
some strange choices here, buddy.
right.
But yeah, yeah.
Um, it gets very like David Lynchian in some of the scenes.
Mhm.
Like I got a lot of like Blue Velvet and like some of his just
Mulholland Drive. Yeah.
yeah Twin Peaks and like there's a lot of that
Mhm.
like weird just kind of reality is askew.
Yeah, yeah. When he's in the strip club, it felt a lot like Twin Peaks. That felt like a place that they
Right.
go.
It has to be very intentional for the story that you're telling, you know. So like if you're saying, "Hey, we're going to that point right there and this is how we're getting there," it has to work within that universe that you've created. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And I feel like
yeah.
it very much does. There are some films that do it better, but
Mhm.
this is one that I think does especially visually, you know.
Yeah, the visuals are great in this one, I think.
Um
It feels, it felt to me like the characters are little chess pieces that are getting moved around,
sure,
but
yeah.
there's not a lot of depth to them, and and it seems like it seems like a shortcoming of the film, not just a like, well, they're not supposed to be, and and that was something that I guess what I'm saying is that was something that was hard for me to forgive. Um,
Sure, yeah.
and then when we got to the end, I was like, okay, I see maybe why those choices were made, but I think it still could have been done in a way that wasn't as frustrating getting to that point.
Sure, yeah. So as far as performances go, if you can separate from the screenplay aspect of their performances, what do you think about especially the lead actors?
I think I'd probably pick Ewan McGregor in this one.
Sure, yeah.
Gosling is very very emo in this one.
Yeah.
It's an early performance for him, right? Yeah, it's a fairly early one in his career. He's just starting to get known at this point. Naomi Watts is somebody I generally like a lot, but I felt like her character was pretty. She didn't have a lot to work with.
Sure.
What about you? Do you have a standout?
I mean, you know, Gosling plays the stoic emo very well.
Yeah, that is a note
Very
that he knows.
right. And very much for his age, very much for the time. He is probably listening to like My Chemical Romance, you know, and a lot of other emo screamo bands from the early 2000s. I think Ewan McGregor's great. I think I've seen him do this kind of part in a couple performances.
Yeah,
So I feel like it's
especially in the early 2000s.
yeah, so I feel like it's a very wheelhouse, you know, for him. Um, I
Mhm.
liked I liked the whole thing as an ensemble. I feel like, you know, obviously Gosling and McGregor are the driving force of the whole film, but I really love the sprinkling in of like Janine Garofalo and like Bob
Mhm.
Hoskins
Yeah,
is
yeah.
in there playing his blind dad.
Mhm.
And it's like such a again, it's like a fever dream kind of scene, but like it's such a great cast that I feel like it's like within the world of a lot of this not making much sense.
Mhm.
It's their performances really you know hit. So, but yeah, I would probably go with McGregor as a little bit more so, but I think he's you know I think he was a little bit older than Gosling at that point, a little more seasoned. Um,
Yeah, I think Gosling was still
yeah,
finding his
transitioning from being a Disney kid to being a serious actor. Um,
right, right.
so, well, now that we've gotten to this point, I feel like we've thoroughly discussed it. Time to give this thing a grade.
Well, I would give it 3 stars. As I've mentioned, I do dig the visuals for sure. I think it's really inventive, especially for the 2000s when directors were really beginning to see all that they could do with the digital camera and editing. As Forster gets to the end, like there's a lot of aspects that get forgotten in that, and so that made it frustrating. But then at the end, it gave me a lot to chew on once I knew what the whole thing was. And so it became a movie that was fun to think about, but it was frustrating to get to the part that made me think. So, but overall, I did enjoy it. So I'm going to give it 3 stars.
All right, that's not surprising. I mean, especially listening to what you had to say about the film. And I'm not too far off from that because I feel like absolutely from a cinematography perspective, it's a 5-star film. I think there's some
Hmm.
elements to it that are dated. I think there's some elements to it that because the whole movie feels like a fever dream, it's very good at driving that home. It's very stylistically driven in being what it's choosing to be. I think from a directing perspective, it's like a master class, but it's not an all-time great film. When I go down the list of my favorite films of all time, it's on the list, but it's not one that I'm gonna watch over and over and over again before a whole lot of others. But that being said, I give it 4 stars because I feel like under 4 stars for me has to have some a little bit bigger flaws. And it's hard because like, if I go down a list of my favorite films, I couldn't tell you one that's like under 3 stars. Like that's
Mhm.
incredibly flawed. But then it feels like, the ratings are very top heavy, you know.
Yeah, right, right.
Because there would be some people that would say that some of the films that I like are like, "Oh my god, that's 2 stars." But from
Yeah,
a geeking out over, visuals, soundtrack, score, like so many of the filmmaking elements, so many of the storytelling elements make me feel like this is a stronger film as
yeah, yeah,
a piece of art. Now, is it gonna hold up against Godfather 2 or Shawshank Redemption? No, it's not. It's not that good. Um,
yeah. But I think that's the fun of rating movies is that we each individual will enjoy different things. So I'm gonna rate Wayne's World way higher than
right,
it would be on a real objective level,
right.
but that's just because it checks a bunch of boxes for me that so it's like when you find the things that have catnip for you in them, then that's why the ratings are there and they're different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And different stars mean different things to different people too. Like we've talked before about how for me the 3 star is the I liked it. So if you get 3 from me, that's because it's more than half of in the spectrum, right? So 3.5 is better than good. 4 is I thought this was a really good movie. 4.5 is generally the highest I'm going to give a movie the first time I watch it. It's like damn good movie. And 5 is like this is top tier for me. This is all timer. Um, and then if we get to 2.5, it's like, well, I kind of and I kind of didn't. And sometimes when I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I like it. And sometimes I don't. 2 is like I didn't like it, but I saw things that I appreciate. You know. Anyway, I don't have to go through my whole rating system, even though I just about did.
1
But
is most movies that have Ben Affleck. Uh,
you said that. I did not.
yes, just to clarify, Troy is not part of this statement. He is not legally bound to my opinion about Ben Affleck, but yeah,
Yes. Thank you, Zach. I want to be sure that I am separated from that.
right.
Mr. Affleck, you've made some fine things.
That's Batfleck to you. I feel like now we got to move on to some bigger and better things, like some top performances by our couple of lead actors. So we'll go with our top performances by Ewan McGregor.
Hello there.
And I will say that I feel like we discussed this a little bit that neither of us have seen probably the lion's share of his filmography. There's a lot of blind spots, but there's some things that I really love that he has done. So I feel like some of the stuff might be pretty closely matched with our list. Give me one of your first ones by Ewan McGregor.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna go with the 2015 movie Miles Ahead. It's
Okay.
a pick about Miles Davis, and Hugh McGregor plays a music critic type person who kind of like gets the story however he can. And he ends up, he's wanting, of course, to talk to Miles Davis, who's played by Don Cheadle. And he goes on a wild ride with Miles. Let's say this is set towards the end of Miles's life. He goes on a wild ride, and it's kind of a, I don't know, it's there's a story trope here that I think is easy to criticize, where this is a story about a larger than life black historical figure, and is told through the eyes of a white guy who nobody knows anything about. But Ewan McGregor is not a super sympathetic character, and so I think it manages to work that way, in that regard. I gave it 3.5 stars when I saw it, and yeah, miles ahead.
That's one I need to catch up with. But yeah, now that you've told me that, and it's got at least 3.5 stars. That's I got to see it.
All right, what you got?
So one of my favorites of his is A Life Less Ordinary. It's him and Cameron Diaz, and the kind of over the top plot where he gets fired and he kidnaps the daughter of his former boss, and they could just go on the spree and they fall in love with each other. It's very Coen Brothers, being directed by Danny Boyle. Like, he's got a particular style, and they work well together. I think so much of what I love about Ewan McGregor is just he's got this energy that I really appreciate, and it really comes through in this movie. And it's one that I've revisited, and again, it's not one that a lot of people have seen. But yeah, I definitely highly recommend it, even for just his performance.
Yeah, that's a blind spot for me, so I have to check it out. The next one I'm going to do is Last Days in the Desert, where Ewan McGregor plays Jesus.
Oh
Um,
wow, yeah,
yeah, and it's a movie where the time that Christ spends wandering in the desert. It's got a lot of really interesting imagery, and yeah, it's a good one.
all right,
Last Days in the Desert. It's a slow, very like prodding sort of film, but it's just got a lot of great imagery, um, and it's a deep dive into like kind of the questions that you ask yourself when you're in silence and in solitude.
yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
definitely that's definitely one to check out. I gave
well,
it 4 stars.
you gave it 4. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely have to catch up with that one. One of a totally different style that I love of his is Moulin Rouge. Have you seen that one?
I haven't seen Moulin Rouge.
Oh my God, you haven't seen that?
Yeah.
See? Ah,
And
it
there's one
works.
there's one for season 2.
Take Baz Luhrmann, however you want. He
Yeah,
does
yeah, yeah.
he does his
Um,
thing really well, and I feel like Rouge is his best. Moulin
hmm,
Rouge is fantastic. Um, I mean, it's a visual just masterpiece. It's so much fun. It feels very much like a stage play, and Ewan McGregor is, I think, the best thing about the film. And even with Nicole Kidman, who's fantastic. But I mean, even with the music, I mean, Ewan McGregor's not a singer, so to speak, but he does really well
right.
in it. And again, it's just another one of the examples of just his energy when he's on screen, because he's very engaging. He feels very much like you could just sit and have a pint with him, you know. Uh,
Mhm.
feels like a real person, even when he's inhabiting these, bigger than life characters. Obviously, the story is sensationalized. He's some broke poet, and he ends up hooking up with a whore in a whorehouse from a different time. You really feel what he's conveying,
Mhm.
whether it's through the music or his acting. And I just love it. I just think it's so much fun, and you should definitely check it out.
Well, some of the movies that I've seen that McGregor was in, as I'm going through his IMDb, I've seen Big Fish, I've seen Men Who Stare at Goats. I've seen Haywire, but I don't really recall his performance in those.
Sure.
I think I saw I Love You, Philip Morris too, but those are not ones that I really remember all that well. And so really the only one and I guess I'll hit it. Well, no, you may bring out some of the other ones, some of his more well-known roles. There's several here that I know, he was in that I just haven't seen, but you may be bringing them up later. So I mean, the next place that I've got to go is his role in the Star Wars prequels and then in Obi-Wan
Oh
as
yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. And that's the first place I really like recognized McGregor as an actor in the 90s and 2000s. I remember talking with friends and just being impressed how he had become Obi-Wan Kenobi. And, have us having grown up with Alec Guinness and that being like who else could do that, and him just becoming someone who you believed was him before he was aged into the original trilogy.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like it was a great um, responsibility to take over that role, especially to be the younger version and to not try to just, I'm just going to imitate him as a younger version. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he really,
Right.
like, you really feel like both of them are Obi-Wan, like
Yeah.
it's not him just, mimicking, it's literally him becoming that character in a younger form.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And I mean, he's easily the best performance in the trilogy. Like I think he's head and shoulders above anybody. Maybe maybe Natalie Portman is next in that, but I think he really shines the brightest in those three movies.
it may be blasphemy, but I may believe that Ewan McGregor may be the best actor in all of Star Wars. His
Wow. Yeah.
his
Yeah.
performances are
Hmm.
maybe better than any other actor's performances.
Yeah.
The
I don't know that I
nature
have a strong argument for you there.
the nature of his performance is it runs in a lot of different directions. I feel like there's a lot of emotional arc outside of the Emperor, which is probably the most memorable like acting performance. Because some of the other ones, like Harrison Ford as Han Solo, is fantastic. They're all
Yeah.
great
I
in their
mean,
in their
he's
roles.
super charismatic.
But I feel like if you were to like hold up each one as their actual like performance, and say
Mhm.
which was the best, overall, like which was
Yeah, who has
the
the most pathos and all of
right.
that.
I
Yeah,
feel like he
yeah,
might have given the best Star Wars performance.
yeah. I think you definitely have a point.
On a different note, one of my favorites that stands out is Doctor Sleep. Um,
Sleep, huh?
so, Doctor Sleep is the sequel to The Shining. Ewan McGregor plays Danny, who was the little boy in The Shining. He plays him all grown up. Like the books, this film deals more with like the alcoholism that Stephen King wrote into The Shining, and they didn't touch on really much as
Uh-huh.
much in the movie. But in Doctor Sleep, you get him right in the middle of him being, drinking his life away, and it's basically because you catch him at this low point, and his shine, from the original movie, he has this weird supernatural connection. It's kind of gone away, and it's been gone for a while, and you kind of get him right in the middle of all of a sudden this shine comes back, and then he goes down this road of having to fight these supernatural people, um, and it's fantastic, and the book is fantastic as well. And I just
Mhm.
love his tortured performance, and the sincerity that he portrays in that film, um, which is so unlike so many of his other roles that I've seen. At least I know he's done a lot, but it's just one that really stands out to me. That's different than your, Moulin Rouge, A Life Less Ordinary, and some of these other ones. Um,
Interesting. Yeah,
So
I'm looking at the cast on the IMDb, and there's a lot of great character names in this.
yeah,
Seeing Rose the Hat, Crow Daddy, Snakebite Andy, Apron Annie, Barry the Chunk,
so
Grandpa
basically,
Flick.
just to give you a little breakdown of the movie, is Rose the Hat is the leader of these traveling kind of gypsies, and they basically kind of common a common theme to some of the stuff you hear about Hollywood is like they feed off the shine that comes from kids uh, because they're more in touch with the supernatural, right?
Mhm.
And so they basically are like it's almost like energy vampires. Um,
Mhm.
so they steal the kids' shine, especially the kids that are really strong with that shine, like
Mhm.
Danny was when he was a kid. And so the battle becomes like trying to stop them from killing these kids that have the shine. Uh, and it's him meeting up with this one kid who's got the shine, and they're basically trying to stop these evil, forces um, from killing all these kids. But again, it also deals a lot with like the torturous elements of being an alcoholic and being the son of an alcoholic father, and all the traumatic stuff he went through before, and it's just great performance. Um,
Cool.
so and a great movie too. So I think we've given a good amount of time to Ewan McGregor. How about a little bit of Gosling love? Because we all love to
Uh,
give Gosling some love. You know what I mean?
But Would you put on some clothes, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Is this bothering you? Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You're a barista. And I can see how you could then look down on me from all the way up there.
I do know what you mean, Zach. So, yeah, Ryan Gosling, he started out, as you mentioned, as a Disney kid. He was in Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps. But Rose, I'd say probably the first time he was on a national stage was Remember the Titans. He was in The Notebook.
Have
But
not seen The
yeah,
Notebook, by the way, and I'm trying to promise myself I'll never watch it.
yeah, same here, same here. So maybe we can form a support group and keep each other strong
Do
in
podcast.
not watching The Notebook. So yeah. So let's see here. What order am I going to go in for these? I'm gonna start with one called Blue Valentine. Do you know this one?
I do. That's an excellent film.
Yeah. Gosling stars opposite Michelle Williams. They're both incredible in totally different ways. Michelle Williams is a very like beneath the surface, like everything that she's doing like with so much with expression and stuff like that. And Gosling is just wearing his character on his sleeve. And it's one of those just tragic love stories that starts out feeling like they're really in love, and then they both realize how hard love is. They're both pretty incredible for very different reasons. And Gosling, he is really going for it in this one. So,
Yeah.
yeah, Blue Valentine.
Yeah, I love that one. I think the one that, especially because of recency bias, that stands out the most to me, and I'm not going to say Barbie.
Obviously, Barbie, yeah, but yeah,
I really did actually enjoy, and I did enjoy his performance.
yeah, he was so
But
good, so good.
right, but it's not one I'm going to revisit a lot. The one I'm going to talk about is from a film that I love and I will revisit and have revisited, which is Blade Runner 2049. I mean, he's definitely the in this one he's very, much movie star, kind of like that wheelhouse of like the Harrison Ford leading man kind of role, but there's some subtlety that he brings to the role as well that I just love that really comes through in this movie. I mean, he's obviously playing an android, and I think having read Philip K. Dick's "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep" recently, um,
Mhm.
kind of rekindled that fire of appreciation for it. Because I mean, now that more AI stuff is becoming more prominent, it's also like this search for the balance of like humanity in it all, and that blurred line where like is our artificial intelligence is they're gonna can they have humanity, and I feel like Um, Unlike Harrison Ford in the first movie, where you never really we still to this day don't know if he was actually an android. Um,
Right, right.
but you actually get it in this movie. Um, and you also get the dynamics of like, have you seen Blade Runner
I
2049?
have, yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
was gonna say you also get the dynamics of a an android who believes that he's special, that he's like chosen, you know,
Hmm.
and you get the build towards him finding out that he's not, you know, and that his story is one of, many stories. Um, and I just love his performance in the whole movie, and he's standing toe to toe with Harrison Ford and Robin Wright and all these great actors
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
carrying the responsibility of a of like not a franchise but a movie that a lot of people point to as one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever, and then to be in the sequel.
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure on that movie as a sequel to deliver.
And he's in the movie with Anna de Armas, and like, come on now.
She's incredible, man, in so many different ways. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I dig that movie as well. All right, the next one I'm going to bring up, I'm bringing up because it perfectly illustrates how Gosling, I mean, he can be a great action star, but he's also really funny, and that is The Nice Guys,
Ah, I was gonna be the next.
where yeah, it's like a buddy detective movie with Russell Crowe, and Russell Crowe is very much playing Russell Crowe, a grouchy guy who you don't want to get on the wrong side of. And Gosling is just kind of bumbling his way through, but also showing that like he's not just totally a doofus in some of the action scenes. And he really shows off that he can do a lot of things.
Absolutely.
So the Nice Guys, it's such a fun watch. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that is. I've been rooting for a sequel at some
Yeah.
point because I would love to see that keep going, like like 48 Hours or Beverly Hills Cop,
Hmm.
stuff like
Totally.
that. That buddy cop formula, is always great, especially when it's done well. Um,
Yeah, and he and Crow have great chemistry.
absolutely,
Um,
absolutely.
and his daughter in it is really good too. I can't remember what her name is, but yeah, she was good too.
Yeah, and I feel like some of the other movies that I like of his are totally stray back towards like his like stoic kind of young brash nature. Because
Hmm.
there's like a handful that I really love, and they're kind of all somewhere in the same universe of like Drive, Fracture,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
Valley, what's it? Place Beyond the Pines. So like they're kind of they could easily be the same person if they chose a different path, but he does that really well. Is what I'm getting at. So that kind of leads me into moving into the next question, which would be if you had to choose one of their filmographies that you could take on a desert island and you would never see the other one again, which would you choose?
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows it?
yeah. So in thinking about this question, I came up with two different angles I could go with it. I've seen far more Ryan Gosling movies, and I would say that I have a lot more affection for a lot of those Ryan Gosling movies than the handful of McGregor movies I've seen. So on one hand, I could take the movies I've seen and know that I'm favorable on them, or I could take Ewan McGregor's to the desert island and watch and catch up and fill in my blind spots. I could finally watch Train Spotting, and
Oh man, you haven't seen
um,
Train Spotting?
I haven't seen Train
Oh
Spotting.
my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, I could see Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, right. Get
Yeah,
cultured, man.
exactly. And Birds of Prey, right? I'd be totally cultured with that one. Um, I think though, I think I'm going to go with Gosling though, because there are so many bangers in there, and Lars and the Real Girl is one of my all time faves. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's pretty easily I'd go with Gosling unless I just got bored and wanted to fill in some blind spots.
I think I think I would have to I would have to close my eyes and just point. If you lose Ewan McGregor, you lose Star Wars.
Or at
At
least the
least
prequels.
the prequels and Obi-Wan. I don't know if I could go without, like I couldn't not see Revenge of the Sith again.
It's what these questions do to you.
But at the same time, like I if you got two movies next to each other at a movie theater and it's like, all right, which one are you gonna go see? And if one
Yeah,
says you starring Ewan McGregor and the other one says starring Ryan Gosling, I'm going to the Ryan Gosling.
yeah,
You know,
same.
and there are movies that I've watched some of Ewan McGregor's movies multiple times. He's even in a Woody Allen movie that I love, Cassandra's Dream, which is really great as well.
Hmm.
Um, but I've watched Drive a lot. I mean, several times. I've watched Nice Guys multiple times, Fracture, Blade Runner. Like there's so many more that I have watched and want to rewatch. You know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it makes it a very difficult choice. So, I mean, gun to my head, I don't know that I could lose Obi-Wan, but man, I might have to go Gosling. That's that's
Hmm.
that's I'm really struggling with this one. I didn't realize it was going to be that much of a struggle. It's hard in my heart.
To let go
So,
of Obi-Wan it's hard. It's hard, man. Let's see here. Well, Zach, if your betrayal of Obi-Wan Kenobi could be considered a twist, some more twists that we want to talk about are some of our favorite movie twists.
Are you watching closely?
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
So, since Stay has a huge twist that really kind of predicates the whole rest of the movie, we thought this would be a fun subject. So Zach, you want to kick it off with some of your favorite movie twists, or do you have any sort of things you want to bring up beforehand as far as
so
movie twists go, like your how you just came to your decisions or whatever?
so most of the movies that I have on my twist endings list, I wouldn't be able to say that I love one more than the other.
Hmm.
They're all like big movies for the most part. Big directors, big names, big actors, and I very much love movies that make you think and frustrate the hell out of you, that make you leave the theater going, "What did I just watch?"
The Lighthouse.
Because right, yeah, not that level. Now that's just different. Come on now.
That took it a little too far.
The twist is what?
The twist is I am real disturbed now, and I'm gonna.
uh, so yeah, I think one of the ones that is a twist, uh, major twist. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it is one that I've watched many times, and it's probably my favorite movie from a director who directs very different kinds of movies, and especially different from this movie.
Hmm.
Is Shutter Island.
Yeah, hey, that was on my list, man.
Like it is so not a Scorsese film, but so
Yeah,
great, and it literally the twist in this movie, like I did not see coming through like three-fourths of the film, because I was just along for the ride, and that's where I'm like, this is the argument that I bring up when I'm talking about Scorsese films, where I'm like, man, it took so much more talent and respect for filmmaking to make Shutter Island than it took to make Goodfellas or Casino or some of the other ones. You know, not
man.
that those aren't great films; they're great in their own right, but I feel like this was a masterpiece in storytelling. You
Yeah,
know,
big statement. Zach says that Shutter Island is better than Goodfellas.
okay, no, 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 step that back there, buddy. I like Shutter Island more than Goodfellas. I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
saying it's a better film, but both would be in the 4.5 to 4.75. world of
Right.
ratings. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but the twist in Shutter Island is amazing. And the fact
Agreed.
that Ben
Agreed.
Kingsley is the one that delivers it is like, come on, you know?
And we talk frequently about how a lot of Scorsese films, while they're mostly great, would feel like you could probably lose 20-30 minutes somewhere in there. And I it's been a long time since I saw Shutter Island, but I feel like I recall feeling like it wasn't the case with Shutter Island. So a rare Scorsese where I was like, why did it have to be 3 hours long?
Right? Exactly. So, what
Yeah.
do you got next?
I'll preempt my list by saying there were several movies that I saw pop up a lot that could have easily made the list, but they they loom so large in pop culture that they they weren't a surprise ending or a twist to me because I already, so like Planet of the Apes is an obvious one. Psycho is another one. Those could have those would have they're movies that I enjoy quite a bit, but it wasn't a twist to me, and so like I don't have like that feeling of the surprise of that. So those will be absent from my list. The first one I will bring up is a movie called Fallen that's got
Oh yeah.
Denzel Washington and John Goodman in it, and it is about this demon that possesses people and commits murders and stuff like that. And the demon can move from one living thing to another as long as it touches it. So Denzel is a cop, and John Goodman is his partner, and he is trying to hunt down this demon. It's a really fun mystery detective kind of. It's outside of the whole supernatural part of it. It's played like a pretty standard detective movie. And then at the very end, there's this nice, it's not a huge twist or anything, but just a nice little dot on the exclamation point.
It leaves you walking out of the theater going, "Time is on
Yeah.
my side." Yes, it is.
Yeah, Fallen. It's a good one.
I would say the next one is probably the one that in recent years I've watched more than any of the others, which is The Prestige.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. That's one I considered. I like that movie quite a bit.
Now, granted, the twist at the end, they kind of lay out some things that make it seem like you're kind of getting the pieces in place.
Mhm.
It's kind of just like they preface it at the very beginning. Like talking about a magic trick. The pledge, the turn, and the prestige. So they're setting it all up, but the reveal at the end, the final reveal is kind of already been telegraphed, but the reveal of Christian Bale being the two brothers
Mhm.
is the one that's like, holy shit.
Wait a second.
What was that? It was bad.
I just love it because it's like all these little pieces, these little breadcrumbs have been laid, you know, out. Um, and it just, are you watching closely is such a like, it's such a
Yeah.
great way to start a film. And then to
Mhm.
think about at the very end, was I really watching that closely? Just gets me excited. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and made by one of the masters of film. So obviously it's great.
Yeah. Who has a lot of great surprise endings.
Right. Surprise, the nuclear bomb goes off. Oh, not that kind. Different.
Yeah, that was one of the most surprising. No, I haven't seen it. All right. What I've got next is one of my favorites of the last 5 years or so, and that is Arrival. What I love about this movie is that it not only makes you think differently about the plot, is it makes you think differently about reality. It is just one of those movies that helps you to grapple with humanity and mortality, and just something that's like way bigger than the sort of trick that it pulls on you.
Right.
So yeah,
It's not a cheap parlor trick. It's not a like, haha. I absolutely adore that movie.
yeah,
And the twist to this day still gets me like right in the gut just every single time. So the next film I'm going to talk about is like from one of the kings of haha, look at what I did. Is The Village.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen that one?
I have, man, and that would be on a list of ones that's like I liked it until the twist.
Really? And I see. I
Yeah.
actually really liked the twist because I was like, man, it's kind of a microcosm of how we are here. It's like, you just give people the story to live inside and
Mm-hmm.
build up the fear and they'll believe anything, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And about the power of like mystery and mythology. On a certain level, Shyamalan gets to be a little too clever for his own good some of the time. And I guess just because I love the way this movie is shot and acted and scored, and like there's so many great things about it that I'm like,
I'll agree with all those. Yeah.
the twist is literally the icing on the cake because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
man, it's such a great film within the framework, and then it's like, oh yeah, and by the way, haha, pull
Mm.
back the curtain. I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I it's there's logic to your argument and everything, but yeah, rather than icing, I felt like it just came and like poured hot sauce on the cake or something. I can remember like I saw it in the theater and I was really thinking like probably halfway through, like, this might be my new favorite Shyamalan movie. Like it was I was into it. Um, and then it got to the end and I was confused because I was still kind of young in my movie snobbery. So I wasn't I didn't have a lot of like ways to articulate what I was feeling about movies. But I was just like, why am I not feeling as strongly about it now? But yeah, it's a huge twist. It's an all timer as far as just like the twist goes,
Oh yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
Because so many movies use the twist within the framework of the story that's already being told. This is like totally out of
Yeah,
left field.
yeah. There's no clue to this. There's no. It's just, oh, that's what it was the whole time. Okay.
What's another one you got?
I'm gonna go with one that's probably a pretty obvious one is Inception. But to talk particularly about like what I think is cool about this one that's different than the other ones is that you don't really know if it's a twist ending or not. So like it might be a twist, but it might not. And there's just it makes it so that there can be endless debate about it.
Yeah, they don't actually. He doesn't tie it up.
He had just left that camera on for like just another, but yeah, it might be a twist.
I mean, it's like the end of The
So
Sopranos. Some people say, why not just finish the story?
yeah, and I think sometimes that is like a cop out, when you I'm gonna leave it up to your interpretation, man. My art is like, not definable or whatever. But in this particular case, I think like it's been leading towards a conclusion like that the whole time.
Yeah, and
So
and I
so
mean that.
it sets it up in a way that allows it to totally be earned.
Sure, yeah, yeah, and I mean it gives you enough to chew on both sides of the argument that you could argue it one way that it was a dream. You could
Mhm.
argue it the other that it was he had got made it back to his kids, and everything, and you would
Mhm.
have a legitimate argument on both sides. All right, I'm gonna give you two of them that have the same actor involved in the twist. Kevin Spacey is
I was
the
about
actor,
to try to I was about to guess, is it Kevin Spacey?
right? And I feel like these are two of the most satisfying twists. You know, like the
Hmm.
the end of Usual Suspects
Yeah.
is just like, man, you're like in the middle of this murder investigation, and you're in the middle of this search for this evil mastermind, and you're being led astray because it's literally the devil himself. Not literally, but like the
Yeah.
sitting right there.
Figuratively, the devil himself. Yeah, yeah. yeah, it's masterful. And yeah, yeah.
So yeah, well, I'm sure we could talk for hours just about Usual Suspects itself. Um,
Yeah, go out and see it if you haven't
but
yet,
yeah,
and if
yeah, and if
you know exactly what we're talking about.
if we ruined it for you, we told you a while ago that this is spoilers. So yeah, it's your own fault.
Yeah, again, it is your fault, listener.
Right. Yes. And the movie's been out for over 2 decades. So
What are you doing with your time?
the other one is Seven, another masterpiece. You're not going to get the satisfaction of the good guy winning, you know,
Hmm.
uh, and just like, wow.
Yeah, yeah, that's another great list. Is a list movies where the bad guy wins.
And it's so
Yeah,
satisfying.
but not satisfying.
Well, yeah, in
Yeah,
the sense of storytelling, of like
yeah.
not going for the easy way out.
In the sense of losing faith in humanity, it succeeds very
Sure,
well.
sure. Some would say it would be in the sense of like having a very real look at the nature of humanity and how we have to fight against it.
It's a good one or a bad one, depending on what you mean.
Not debating the morality, but just just the outright genius of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you have more? Because we could
That's
go
that's
on and
all I
on and on.
had. Yeah, yeah.
So I will mention one more, which is obvious, but it also dates back through storytelling from famous writers, books throughout the past. Is the story of like the other self, of Fight Club, and it's one I will revisit. I watched it a lot when it came out, the first few
Mhm.
years after it came out. But I've always been fascinated with that kind of other self.
Mhm.
One of my films that I've done
Doppelganger.
dealt with
Yeah.
that. A lot of Dostoevsky deals um, with that element of that. You know, in each of us, there's a darker side that looms, and if we give it any power, it could take over. I mean,
Mhm.
even the old Native American saying, "There's two wolves inside of all of us," and like which one wins? It's like the one you feed. You know,
Mm.
and Fight Club is that kind of like let's see what happens when you give it stuff to chew on. You know,
Mhm.
and Fight Club has a great finish and twist, um, and has a lot just to say about society and uh, humanity as well. So you can't do a twist ranking without throwing that one in there too.
Yeah. And it's got the Pixies at the end too.
Very true. That's all I got on my list.
So then, shall we intro our next movie?
Yeah, I think we've twisted our way through this past hour and a half to get to this point. And
Mhm.
here's the big reveal.
The big reveal is on our next episode. We're gonna do one of mine. It is the 2018 movie If Beale Street Could Talk. A young woman embraces her pregnancy while she and her family set out to prove her childhood friend and lover innocent of a crime he didn't commit. It is Barry Jenkins' follow up to Moonlight, and man, it's Zach. I am excited for you to see this.
Yeah, man, it's one when it came out. I know everybody that I respect in the film world told me I need to see it. And I mean, being from Memphis, you'd think I would have been like, I gotta watch this right now.
Well,
'Cause
you would think that, but you know what I discovered is there is also a Beale Street in New Orleans, and that is
right,
the Beale Street that's being
and
referenced in this movie. So I was
yeah,
like, what?
yeah. Here's the twist. It ain't even in Memphis, man.
Yeah. And see no Memphis landmarks on this movie.
Oh, well, Funky Town will have to wait until we talk about Hustle and Flow. But if Beale Street Could Talk is definitely one that I have looked forward to watching. Baron Jenkins is fantastic. Moonlight is brilliant. Um,
Mhm.
so I definitely trust your opinion on it. And I hate that I haven't seen it yet. So
We'll remedy that soon, Zach.
sounds good.
All right. Well, I think that's about all the movie talk I've got in me. How about you?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it's time for us to go. Probably It's well over time for us to go. But we'll be talking some more movies on the next episode of You Gotta See This Man. So long.
See you later. Till next time.
That's it, man. It's game over, man. It's game over.
If you have any suggestions or thoughts, you can email us at the letter U, gotta, letter C, thisman@gmail.com. Follow along with our show page on letterboxd.com, as well as our own individual pages. We look forward to having fun, talking with friends, and reviewing some movies. Join us.